How goes it? Ken Bozak here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. And today I'm here to chat with some friends. I got Miner and Kristen on the horn. How goes it, bros?
What up, Ken Bosack?
Hi there. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves? Let the audience know a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got into crypto and how that led you to what you're doing now in the industry. And of course, ladies first.
Oh, you mean me? Well, so my background is actually in marketing, and I've been in marketing since day one. So for me, that was going through college, getting a degree, going that route. So marketing from a traditional standpoint, and then into research. So I've done a lot of market research, and then SEO, website development, those kinds of things. So um, I lived during .com era. I don't know if you guys did too. You're pretty young looking, but
I'm 30.
I saw the .com era come and go. Yeah, young. So I sort of missed the .com boom, and so I watched it from high school and saw friends, making six figures because they could build HTML websites, and then saw the rise of Google and what that did for marketing. And crypto, just it has a lot of the hallmarks to me of that same kind of innovation, so that just drew me to the industry. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I serve projects and companies in this space.
I can see the same incentive, like you said, seeing your friends make six figures, learning how to basically manifest things out of ones and zeros because they learned how to speak a language computers understand. And now there's this, blockchain technology that if you could speak its language, you could have that same manifestation feel. You're like a god in a sense. It's a lot of these Bitcoin core developers kind of are. They just manifest things into reality because they know ones and zeros. So you're right. The total relation to the incentive to get into it, it's really there. It's just to find the clear education. It's really not, and I mean it's hard to find that in almost anything without biasness. You're going to go to Harvard if you want to learn how to Bitcoin core. You're going to go to Yale if you want Bitcoin SV. If you're going to go to whatever,
Yeah,
learn how to
well,
code Ethereum or speak
yeah.
Solidity. So what about you? Got Miner? How? Whoa, nice shirt by the way, bro.
Oh man, bro, we match.
I didn't. If I would have known, I would have worn my other pump
Yeah,
shirt.
me too. That's why I changed my shirt.
Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Let them know a little bit about yourself.
Hey, so I've got about 15 years in the information technology industry. I first heard about crypto back when I think Dogecoin, they had that Dogecoin article that had to do with some kind of racing. NASCAR might have been.
NASCAR. It was fucking NASCAR.
And then I just totally ignored it. I did the same thing after I read the Silk Road article. And it's probably the biggest fuck up of my life. I should have looked more into it at that point, but I didn't. So in sometime in 2017, I had a coworker that was using GPUs to mine, and then he was also doing something called protein folding. And he told me a little bit about it, and I really didn't start seriously looking into it until probably late summer of 2017. And at that point, I ended up getting into mining like fourth quarter of 2017.
Damn, yeah, I actually remember that Doge NASCAR thing. It was, I didn't even understand. When I got into Bitcoin, it took me a while to be like, oh, I heard of this before, and it was because of that. It's so funny that those weird incidences caught our attentions, but it was also one of the things that turned us off to it too, right? Like it turned me off as soon as I kind of saw it on this. I was like, that's a fucking joke, right?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. And I even made fun of some of my coworkers that were talking about it that were even way more into it than I was then. But now it's like complete reversal. They're not so into it because of the bear market we've been in. And
Well, crypto kind of got into that scene where it's like it's not as cool anymore because our parents got into it. Like the mainstream, like the institutional investors and the corporate medias are into it now, and it's just like, oh, this used to be cool. It's like when your parents started listening to Ozzy after he went from Black Sabbath to Ozzy. You're like, fuck, he used to be cool. Bitcoin used to be cool. I don't think it's as cool anymore. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Bitcoin still cool, or have we lost that clicky, fidget spinner vibe that we had?
Well, the marketplace is still so new. I think the audiences are also new. So, the perspective that we all have is actually one that's very unique and small when you think about the global scope of things. So I don't know. I don't know that you can say that yet because it's like the audiences haven't really evolved to the point to get it yet. And they will, and certain parts of them will get it in different ways, and something could catch on. So I still think it can be cool and will be cool, but we don't know who and why someone's going to think that in mass.
I can see that. Yeah, I definitely see that. What about you, Minor?
Yeah, I got about the same opinion. I mean, I think when we hit close to $20,000 Bitcoin at the end of 2017, a lot more people got exposure to it, obviously. So
was it the right exposure? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, no, because half of them or more are out of it now, just because.
And I mean, the people that did get into it at Bitcoin's 20K all-time highs was just because of the price. They didn't understand anything underlining that, right? They were like, a lot of the questions I got from a lot of the mainstream, like just people that don't invest, just average people, was, where does the money come from? Like, but like, I get it. Bitcoin's worth money, right? But like, where does that money come from? It just comes out of nowhere. It just makes money, right? It's you're printing money. You're saying that the Federal Reserve just prints money. Well, why is a Bitcoin worth money? Where's the money come from? And I'm like, oh goodness. Well, proof of work's the start.
Well, but hasn't that? But it's opened up a great conversation, though, for people that weren't questioning what is money. Why do we put the value we put into the dollar, and what is going on with the dollar? So I think there's a lot of people that are actually kind of waking up to the concepts that would lead them to understand Bitcoin better. Like they're like 3 steps behind really getting it, but they're going to get there eventually.
Right, yeah, this is definitely something that's, I think, started a domino effect in interest. Like, we definitely don't have mass adoption by any means, but we have the masses' attention. And their eyes are on us, we're looking at the space to see what is going to be done. I feel like the whole speculation hype moment has kind of run its course with the ICO kind of boom and bust. And that's great. I feel like that was like a leap year that we needed to take into moving forward in the mainstream's perspective. They don't care about investing. They're not the mainstream. And nobody invests. Everybody I talk to that I went to high school, nobody has stocks. Nobody invests. Nobody has silver in their fucking safe somewhere. They pay their bills paycheck to paycheck, and they just care about this technology existing, making their life a little bit easier and more convenient. So like, where do you guys see this in the mainstream when this technology does go mainstream and you have it ubiquitous? What aspects do you most look forward to seeing this make the quality of your life better, not just your portfolio?
I mean, hopefully it simplifies payments a little bit. I have a strong feeling that we're going to have to give up some of the security to get it to mainstream. I don't feel like that anyone is interested in being their own bank, and everyone is just so used to having someone else take care of it for them. Like they can call up their credit card company, they can call up their bank if they have a problem, and with this it's a little bit different.
Yeah, we had somebody in the chat say fractional reserve lending. Yeah, keep an eye out on that paper Bitcoin that's about to start trading with these, futures and ETFs, and try to keep your eyes on those OTC deals. What's on your mind, Kristen? How goes the day?
Well, you know, like just what we're talking about now, I always come back to this is people in different parts of the world view cryptocurrencies and use cryptocurrencies differently and for different reasons. And so, you know, for myself, I can only view things through my own perspective, right? And why I'm interested. But then, you know, through research and looking into like the way people in Nigeria, the way people in Venezuela, you know, different African countries, how they're using crypto, they are the unbanked. So they're just, it's so different, you know, and I'm constantly thinking about how is crypto going to evolve in those unbanked marketplaces versus ours that are, what
Right.
are we like overbanked? You know what I mean?
Oh my
So
God, get out
that's
of
kind
my
of where my
head.
brain is going.
Yo, I was in Toronto at an event, and I was in like one of their tallest buildings in Toronto, and I looked down and I just see nothing but fucking banks just everywhere.
Right?
And I was just like, yo, we don't got a banking problem. We got a banking problem. We got too many banks.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. We are
Yeah.
way overbanked. That is the problem. And, you know, it is a first world privilege to have the perspective of like, oh, well, how's Bitcoin for me? Well, maybe it isn't for you. It's really not for you then. You know, maybe it isn't ready to provide an increase in quality to your life. But, like you mentioned, those in Venezuela who are under complete scrutiny of their dictatorship governments and just economic poverty, they're exiting into crypto because they
Yes.
can. They have option B.
Yeah.
You know, they can go right to plan B and move along and nobody can stop them. And we've seen it
It's
with their
saving
mining.
lives.
It is. They're
Yeah.
using mining to like
It's
order.
literally saving lives.
So I think what's Dash like the most popular one in Venezuela right now?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure of the
I'm
numbers.
pretty
I
sure
thought
it
Bitcoin
is.
was, but
No, they have
I
the
don't
Dash
know.
proposal system has sent out like Dash militia or like a renaissance of sorts out there, and there's like 2,000 or 3,000
Right.
businesses that accept Dash, and there's Dash billboards everywhere. You find a billboard about the Petro coin that their dictator
Wow.
there made. There's a Dash billboard not far from it because they don't want people to be led to this centralized token.
Yeah. Hashtag guerrilla marketing.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
exactly. Yeah, I love it. I love what's
Yep.
happening there that they're embracing this because, otherwise they wouldn't have any other options, And that's the thing with the mainstream media is they'll never show you the, revolution that's really happening in Venezuela. They'll just show you the small
No,
trash fire with the camera picture taken real close so they have a good backdrop. That's kind of what they
it's
do.
true.
And this is why I
Well,
like things like Steam It, because if you go on Twitter, you ain't gonna find anything about what's happening in Venezuela because they just deactivate the accounts. They don't let them have that platform to express the life that they're
yep.
being, dropped into because of sanctions by the U.S. Government. Like we're not letting Venezuela get imports really. Like we're kind of fucking them, and we're over here saying, "Oh man, I feel bad for Venezuela." Like we're the bullies.
It's crazy. Well, it all comes down to information, right? Knowledge is power. If you don't know what's going on, and if we're also being fed misinformation, and then we don't know how to like really, you know, work through that, gosh, you're just basically developing your own opinions based on nothing.
Misinformation is
So
like a new
I
digital
digress.
plague. It's a digital plague. We're living in a new like they're gonna have rings around the rosy types of songs spoke about the misinformation plagues of the internet of 2019 or 2020. It's people out there
Hashtag
have
FUD, right?
FUD. Oh man, it's we had a great moment in history where the misinformation was not so rampant, where like the power to print books and supply information was very centralized until the printing press and mass production and things like that, and then we could produce
Yeah.
information without bias or censorness. And but now with these platforms like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, you may think we have this freedom of expression and free information, but you're actually being data mined and analytically fed information
Yes.
that is specifically designed to warp your perspective. Like everything I see
Yep.
on the internet now is like Bitcoin negativeness. Like it's just I haven't heard about anything outside of crypto, and it's not for a lack of like not looking, but when I turn on the internet, I open YouTube, I open Google, all the recommended things are just like FUD about
Yeah.
Bitcoin. I don't see shit about sports in my local area, the weather, and it's not like I turned all that off. It's just they know what to feed me. They know what I'll click on. You know, so dude,
Yep.
Reiner, what are you thinking about like the space right now with the maximalism mentality and the tribalism in the space?
Well, I definitely think that I can see a good use case for Bitcoin and other cryptos in places like Venezuela. I think what's hard to say is what is the use case in places like the United States that are overbanked? What is that going to be? And I don't know the answer to that. As far as Bitcoin maximalism, is that what you're asking?
Yes, or crypto in general, you know, the tribalism. Like, look at, you know, Tron or Ethereum maximalism bashing Bitcoin, you know, saying that they're going to be the next or whatever. And people looking up to that, right? Like, people looking up to them and saying, like, oh, well, yeah, Bitcoin's never going to work. You know, Ripple's the standard.
You know, I think the network effect of Bitcoin is, I mean, the longevity that the network's been around plays a big part in that. And some of these others just, I mean, you never know. And then if you're talking Bitcoin, Lightning Network makes a hell of a lot of difference. Any kind of layer 2 solution on top of the Bitcoin network is going to make a big difference in being able to use it as a spend currency. Because I can definitely see how it's difficult to use it as a spend currency currently with on-chain transactions in a retail environment, because those retailers, I mean, you obviously can't wait for all those confirmations to make sure that the payment is actually there.
Well, they don't with Visa, right? I mean, they do a trust fall right now with credit card providers and merchant processors right now. So that transaction pending is nothing fucking new to them. But they are guaranteed once it is submitted to the blockchain, pending or pending or not, the confirmation could be 0. They know that they can get it settled if as soon as they see it submitted to the blockchain. There's no undo button, you know, as long as they see on their end that a transaction has been submitted. You know, it doesn't matter if there's if it says, you know, 0 confirmations, because 3 to 5 days from now, they really got to cross their fingers and hope you don't do a chargeback and keep the stuff that you got from their, you know, services or whatever, and, you know, take your money back. And Visa charges you, actually takes the money back, and then charges you a fee for credit card theft prevention. So now they're charging you for getting robbed. The blockchain doesn't do that.
Yeah, so I mean,
well, maybe the angle then for merchants is no chargebacks. When I had a business and I had credit cards, chargebacks were the bane of my existence. Assholes used the chargebacks. You know, it was like jerks would do that.
Yeah, I just interviewed my buddy from Bit Ninja Supply, and he said he gets hit with them like 2-3 times a week, and it costs, you know, like $30-40 each time. Why would you even why would a business even accept that burden then? You know what I mean? That's like it's been accepted as mandatory. Doesn't make any sense. I just, you know, that is it's really a burden for small businesses. That's who it really falls onto, because the bigger companies have insurances for this that they already own, so they're making money hand over fist, because when they lose money, it's their own business giving them the money back. So that's why like this whole chargeback credit card theft scenario is the biggest incentive they have to making more money. It's a debt-based system. So if you don't spend your money, they have to kind of hope somebody else might spend your money for you. You know, they have the incentive to make that possible. That's why it's a pool currency transaction economy. We live in a world where money is pooled. We don't push money, we pool money. But in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, you don't have pool transactions. You can only push your money out. Nobody could ever pull Bitcoin from an account that they have your public address to if they decide you didn't spend enough or they didn't charge you the right amount.
So do you think that consumers would rather not use a cryptocurrency as a spend currency because they don't have that protection there on their end. It's kind of because it's kind of reversed. It's there for the business owner as opposed to the consumer at that point.
Well, from the consumer's perspective, you would have to imagine a consumer is an employee of a business that is incentivized to accept that currency. So they would have it and they would be incentivized to then give it to their employees who would be customers of other businesses that were incentivized. So it's a full economic circle that we have to start. We can't just go to, I don't believe that we're speaking to the right mainstream on ramp when we're talking to merchants. I think that we should go right to the merchant suppliers and let them understand supply chain technologies, that they're dealing with bigger transactions that they need to be settled even quicker than the merchants are because they have hundreds of merchants buying from that one supplier. Their customers are spending a lot more, which means that the fees, that 1 to 2 to 3% transaction fees, costing them a hell of a lot more than if we showed them Lightning networks on chain, so they didn't have to worry about closing the channels if they're dealing with money transactions with throughout the this community that they have built. But I think it starts with the supply chain, then the merchants, the employees, and obviously employees beget customers. So the incentive really comes down to the volatility, right? Like, how do we escape the fear of the volatility of cryptocurrencies, right? Like when you look at your wallet today, it's down, but yesterday we were up.
Right.
I think that goes with, pointing at the price of gas. You can point at gas and be like, look at that. It's more than it was yesterday. That means your US dollar went down. They just don't understand volatility because it's not reflected on the fiat that they hold. They see those numbers stay the same, and we say one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, like they have $1 is $1, but that dollar isn't always worth a gallon of gas. It's volatile in value.
I think it's a lot more volatile, though.
Oh my God.
Yo,
I swear to God, I keep getting calls when I'm on live stream. Stop it. So where do you guys see the incentives? Did you see any, for an average person that doesn't have to know much about this, any incentive to actually use it in their daily lives in a first world overbanked scenario?
Yeah, I think it's the ability to take some stand to get off the grid in some way. At least that's my perspective. So I'm not trying to necessarily make a lot of money or whatever, from trading, but I do like the idea of having something beyond the banking system and the financial system that I currently have access to. So for me, it's like it's freedom.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I feel exactly the same way. I feel like that the majority don't feel that way, and that may be a problem.
Yeah, and nobody's really, I haven't seen any Wells Fargo protests since having them close, ATMs and say that you can't have more than $100 a day in cash at most of their banks because they ran out of fiat. We're looking at such a desensitized, herd of sheep. It's fucking petrifying. You could almost do anything to this populace and they wouldn't give a shit, as long as you don't fuck with their Netflix or their entertainment or their sports teams or the frivolous cannon fodder that has been created to distract them from the actual problems. But as soon as there is a real problem, everyone's like, oh yeah, but a new episode of Housewives is on and that protest is 2 miles out of my bus route's way, and I just say I got the stuff to do.
But I mean, isn't this though? This is like the culmination at this point of consumerism. So the marketers and the businesses have gotten really good at this, and they've got us in cycles. Yearly, monthly, weekly, daily cycles. We are sheep. So I think it actually takes a lot to get out of that. There's a lot working against us. I mean, marketers are working from childhood. I mean, they know how early they can start talking and marketing to kids, and it will actually make an influence on future brand decisions. So think about, 20 years ago, they already knew these things, right? So marketers were marketing to the 20-year-olds of today. I mean, that's tough. I mean, you've been marketed to your whole life. You're on the treadmill.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's a lot of us.
We got to figure out the how to self deprogram, and I think it has to do with like tapping out of the internet. I wrote an article a little while back about a digital detox I did, where I just tapped out of the internet for 3 days, and it went through withdrawal. It was a weird physical
Wow.
feeling to not interact with the internet for 3 days, to where I had phantom, like, I
Wow.
turned all my phones off, they were in drawers and didn't touch any, but I would feel my fucking thigh vibrate, and I would get the physical motor reflex, like a
Wow.
fucking trained boxer. Like if you were to jab at a boxer, he would just bah, because it's just, oh, sorry, muscle memory. I would just reach for my
Yep.
fucking thigh as if I had a phone on me, and I'm like, I would just panic, where's my phone? And I'm like, oh, I turned it off today. Like, calm down, calm
Yeah.
down.
And that behavior didn't even exist. I mean, like, think about how new the phone is and the way that we're using it. Like, we were quickly trained.
It is.
That device is good. It is really good.
I'd much rather have my phone than my left arm at some points. You know, like if I had to choose between which extension of my body I couldn't live without, my phone's pretty fucking high up there. But that's because, like,
Yeah.
imagine if your Google account was gone today. You couldn't log into anything, your Google Photos, your Dropbox, your 2FA, anything that you logged in with, any of that. Everything is it's just gone. What would you do? You know, it would be like walking into your house and just all are empty walls.
Yeah. Well, and for some people, that would mean now they can no longer, do their business. A lot of people's businesses rely on those things. So you've now just said, well, now I can't make money either.
Well, that's what they don't
So
want,
it's,
independent entrepreneurs. That's why public schooling is completely designed for employees, not entrepreneurs. You know, they don't want
yep,
you to create, they want you to do. Just do. Don't change the fucking
yeah,
construct, just do. And what we're making possible is for people to do whatever the fuck they want, and it's unstoppable with these DAOs, smart contracts,
yep,
cryptocurrencies. You could take Bitcoin's white paper, fork it, and do whatever you want with it if you so please. And now we even have things like, BitTorrents having their own currencies. It's insane, and it's really important to be an independent, solvent person without depending on like, I love Gary V. If you want side money, have a side hustle. It's fine to have a day job, but if you want nightclub money, like, you need a nighttime job. You have to have a second income source. But they're trying to keep taking away, and there's things like this, like with YouTube and other platforms, that steal 30% of that. Imagine if your employer just said, all right, here's 30% of your pay, I'm keeping that, and your taxes and
yep.
everything still come out. Really? Like, we're just starting to
Well,
become reprogrammed again.
this is why, well, we all need to hear this, especially content producers. If it's not your domain, it's not your audience, you don't own it. You're just playing on their sandbox. So it's
Facts.
really sad when you see people building up their entire business on these domains they don't own. Like, get your domain. It's really unfortunate. I mean,
Not
you can
even
get
your
turned
own
off
domain, your
overnight. We're
servers.
seeing it happen right now.
Like, you could own the domain, but if you
Well, now
don't
you're
own the
taking it,
server, you're really fucked.
God level.
Well, not even, but I
True,
mean, there's
true.
like, imagine
Well,
owning a
yeah,
business
right?
on Amazon, right? Amazon.com, you're a merchant, you have your own store, and you're selling Bitcoin swag, and you've been doing that for years, and then they say, hey, sorry, crypto-related ICOs or scams, ban hammer. So now you're kicked off of Amazon.
Yeah.
What do? You owned the website that took them to your shop, but that server wasn't yours, and I think people need to learn about, like, things like Open Bazaar, where you could have an Open Bazaar domain and server, and people could actually run your server for you. So if your server's
Good
down,
point.
I can run your server, shop on your shop, close the server when I'm done shopping, when the shipments and everything start to trigger. So we have to figure out a way to really start to decentralize from, like, I think the foundational layers, not just the I don't even know the cosmetic layers. You were a miner, right? Like, you were doing cryptocurrency mining, right? So you were independent, and an entrepreneur in crypto. How did that kind of go for you? What were your friends thinking of you mining crypto?
I think most of them probably had no idea what it was about, had no understanding of Bitcoin. And probably most people that first hear about Bitcoin really don't understand how it works. But I think that because I got into mining right away, I did have that understanding. In the beginning, it was all about, okay, how much fiat am I going to take out of the coins that I mined, and how much am I going to leave in crypto and risk it going to zero? And these days, it's like complete opposite. You're either spec mining coins early on, early projects, taking a risk on that, or you're mining something like Ethereum and you're just not selling it. There's and you're breaking even on electricity, but you're not making any money whatsoever, and then you have the expense of the hardware. So I mean, that's why a lot of people there's so many GPUs on eBay right now for a fourth of the price that they were 12 months ago. It's completely insane. But if you have the capital to just front the money for the electricity, and if you have the belief that one day those coins are going to increase in value, then it makes the most sense to not sell any of it right now. And that's what I've been doing since I started.
What about a cryptocurrency appeals to you to make it worth mining instead of, obviously you can't really mine Bitcoin. I mean, it's just you'd have to have a farm to really turn a profit. But what other currencies kind of catch your eye to actually try to mine and see how it turns out? Like, what is it about them that appeals?
So the ones that I spec mine, and I did this back in last year. I spec mined Raven coin early on.
Oh, good call, dude.
It wasn't my idea. I got to give a shout out to Crypto Christopher Walken for that one.
Oh, Walken. All right, cool. Yeah, Raven coin's pretty lit, man. I've actually found them at one or two events I've traveled to, and they're pretty interesting.
So the reason I decided on that as opposed to any of the other newer projects that were out there was because there was no pre-mine and there was no ICO.
Yeah, Raven, I think, sort of like a color coin, right, on Bitcoin's blockchain.
Right. So they've added now a asset layer to it.
That's so crazy. I got to start looking more into them. A lot of people don't even understand the concept of color coins and using, the ability to actually build on top of Bitcoin's blockchain when
Right.
people are just, like I said earlier, the distraction of the maximalism. It's people are seeing, Ethereum, smart contracts, Internet 3.0, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Bitcoin, color coins, rootstock, lightning, atomic swaps, internet 5.0. Like, I can do words too. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I feel like we're being too spread thin through the tribalism, and we gotta just, if you want to be a maximalist of any fucking thing right now, be a maximalist of the foundations. The basics: blockchain, why blockchain, open source, immutable, censorship resistant, decentralized. Like, just those things. Just shill that shit. And the shit that your fucking bags are just sitting there to shit coins, they'll have more value than you just shoving shit coins down people's throats like they're fucking, it just pisses me off.
I think there are so many people in it right now to make a ton of money and get the fuck out. And
by money you mean fiat.
Right. That's exactly.
Yes.
That's the dumbest shitcoin of them all. I mean, it's just, why? I don't even know how many $20 bills there are in circulating supply. So how do I know what my $20 bill is worth? I don't know how many of them there are. There's nothing to base this math on. Guys, that's why we got to pitch and show the basics, the fundamentals.
Yeah, there's definitely
Agreed.
way too much shit like in the crypto marketplace right now. And I think a lot of it, I have a feeling that most of it is going to fail when they run out of money.
Well, that's the long term right there. I mean, that's a great segue.
That's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, crypto winter has actually, been a kind of a good thing. it's painful, but at least it shakes out those people that were just here to kind of work the hype.
Yeah, yeah, no,
They'll be back.
I kind of
They'll
watched
come
it
back.
all happen. I mean, I went to Consensus and Money 2020 and all these, crazy conferences where every company at Money 2020 had blockchain on their booth, and it was like it was
Of
crazy because
course,
Money 2020 is
of
like
course.
payment processors, Visa, MasterCard, terminals that you swipe your cards at. It was all the weird basic nobody cares about crap. But but every booth blockchain incorporated somewhere in there.
Buzzword incorporated.
Well, I mean, when we have these situations where JP Morgan creates their own coin and people are, perpetuating the idea that Bitcoin's now dead, nobody's going to use Bitcoin, but they're not mentioning the fact that it's not for us. It's for banks and institutions and accredited traders and brokers, and it's more of a killer for Ripple and things like that. So I kind of want to see what your thoughts are on the long term of, the institutional assimilation of this technology where they're trying to, perpetuate that they are a crypto with things like JP Morgan coin and Gemini dollar and shit like that, or even decentralized centralized things like Ripple as opposed to projects like Bitcoin.
Yep.
Do you see have you ever seen Mr. Robot? Do you see like an e-corp e-coin future, or do you see it possible where we could be decentralized and use smart contracts?
It's hard to see getting to that decentralization through JP Morgan. I just don't, I mean, by the nature of it, they're just not going to want that fundamentally. I mean, you just look at who they are and right and how that they've made their money. So I think we're going to have this weird sort of tug of war back and forth of crypto's supposed to help us get beyond these guys, right? And now they're coming in and they are going to be contributing to the foundation, like you're talking about. I think we actually need the JP Morgans to be doing this kind of stuff. Whether you like the technicality of it or not, they're going to use the buzzwords and they are going to be talking to and influencing a lot of other companies. But at the same time, are we kind of losing what it is that we were trying to do with crypto in the first place? So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one, to be totally honest. But I think it will be interesting to see how it plays out. The time horizon is probably like 5 years, though, before we would know if they really are going to do anything that catches.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it
what
takes a
was it?
while for those big companies to move.
Was it I think
Hmm?
The Navy invented the internet, right? And we saw how that worked out when it went open source. And I think everyone speculates that the NSA created blockchain in like 1991 or something like that. So we've seen how that's kind of gone for them since it went open source. And I don't know, whatever JP Morgan and all these guys might be up to is fine and dandy until we can reverse engineer it and do it our damn self. And if they want, I think that they
True.
could do a DAO or a decentralized exchange or whatever. And if they wanted to, like any other developer does in this space, you could incorporate developer fees. So there's the mining fees, transaction fees, developer fees, and maybe the developer was JP Morgan who helped, write that smart contract, because right now smart
Hmm.
contracts suck and there's no way to trust them. Everyone says do your own due diligence. How the fuck am I supposed to read a smart contract,
It's
motherfucker?
impossible.
Fuck you with your due diligence bullshit. Like, this is a trust fall
Agreed.
with my money, and you're telling me, a high school dropout that smokes weed, to do my own due diligence, but this project is amazing! You gotta check it out! Fuck you with your hype.
And all the information you can rely on comes from the project.
Right, right,
Due
right.
diligence.
Yeah, and I mean that's the problem where the due diligence and all that is fundamentals. You just got to get to the fundamentals, and I want to see more of that and less. This is why my project's better than your project. Well, what? Just go how the fundamentals. What did you build on? How did you do it? Why are you doing it? Not You don't have to go to this
Yep.
competitional, tribal fucking, primal instincts. That's a lot of these projects do. Like, you see the Ripple Army
Yeah.
and a lot of the other cliques that are out there. It's toxic for the entire space. It's not helping. It's
You
hurting
know what
more.
though? But developing groups that have that cultish kind of mentality is it's really powerful. I mean, and especially when you think of the impact that social media has on cryptocurrencies, which I think is probably massive. You know, that strategy of getting that cult like following, attracting those types of people, that's a pretty smart strategy, actually. It's gross, but if you think about it, I mean, it's a numbers game.
Yep.
So, you know, if you can get those guys, it's not pretty though.
No, I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to mention it because you know definitely got my brain thinking of that cult mentality, that cults that already exist, and they're incorporations of this, and you know it could be as wild as, you know, currently I think, you know, the KKK accepts funding through cryptocurrencies, and you know that's like the mainstream's, you know, go-to story, but I believe PayPal allows that as well, and so does every other payment processor.
They
But they
accept
don't.
fiat, don't they?
Yeah, they accept fiat, exactly. But you can't help with WikiLeaks with PayPal. That's a
Sure.
no-no. You know, but what about the cults that already exist that could potentially, and for the ironic lack of a better word, demonize this by, like, imagine a Christ coin where the church, the Catholic Church has their own currency, and they, you know,
I thought
they have a big
isn't there a
influence
Jesus
on people.
one?
Yeah, but it's not the Vatican's currency. Like, I'm saying, imagine it coming,
But it's
like the Pope is
official.
Vitalik. Exactly. The Pope is Vitalik, and he's saying to all the followers, this leader saying, "We want you to use Christ coin, and we'll accept it as charity for donations, blah blah blah. If you want to come see the
Wow,
Pope, you need 1 million Christ coins staking in your wallet, shit like that." Like, what are your thoughts? That, you know, this is where my mind
that would be
starts to go.
incredible. The Vatican City would become like the hub of cryptocurrency innovation.
But would that be for the
It would be
best or
like
for
a
the
mecca.
worst? Are we
I think it
empowered?
would be
Because, like, this could topple,
the part.
all kinds of governments, because that religious, you know, cult, for, you know, just for the word of you know, whatever, but for relation, it's everywhere. There's more than any other, you know. It's just crazy. So imagine being able to say stop using fiat. If the Pope said stop using fiat, start using Christ coin.
I can't even imagine that, Ken.
I wonder if they would build it on Ethereum, if they would have their own blockchain. And have Vitalik as, like, Jesus reborn. No, but I'd love to, like, just, like, kind of fantasize a little bit about, like, the legacy systems that already exist, and any
Yes.
odd way that they could incorporate this, even if it is as far-fetched as possible. You know, nobody saw EMTs using Google glasses to see if you had a peanut allergy on, you know, medical files before, or whatever. Or, you know, if you're unconscious, they wear these glasses. It's crazy. So nobody saw this stuff coming. Nobody's gonna see the incorporations of, like, these
True.
technologies, and we hardly have touched the surface of what lightning channels can do, man. I mean, dude, what do you guys think
Exactly.
about lightning?
So I actually just set up a Lightning node on Friday night.
Did you get a Casa node, or did you do, like, a Raspberry or your own, like?
No, I did my own with a just with a Windows 10 box, and I used Pierre Rashad's guide.
Oh, cool, Pierre. I
To
think I
give you,
met
like,
him in New York.
did you? Yeah, I mean, I read that and I thought, man, this, it just seems so super simplified, and it was. Um, Took forever to download. I downloaded the entire Bitcoin blockchain, and then my power went out, and I
Oh,
fucked
fuck.
everything up in the middle of it.
Should have been using a data bunker, bro. That's like the best external device. You wouldn't have had to worry.
Well, you know what? I had it plugged into a UPS, and I had it plugged into surge only protection, not on actually on the battery. So I fucked up there. But anyway, so I figured out what the problem was. Just had to delete a file and rescan the rest of them that I had already downloaded, and 8 hours later it was up and running. But um, yeah, the technology is really cool. I mean, I've opened a few payment channels, and I've sent some Satoshis through the Lightning Network two people that have that tippin.me account on Twitter. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I set mine up a while back and I never shared it. And I don't know if it was like rude of me not to shout them out and share it, or if I just didn't want to seem like narcissistic and be like, here's tip me. But like, I just shouted them out today and I think they're really cool what they're doing. The only thing I get concerned about though, bro, is the cost of closing a channel and opening a channel, and the amount of Satoshi lightning channels from donations will create. It could take a while, and then by then, what about transaction fees increasing and not, the cost effect always balancing out? Like, the price of closing the channel almost costing as much as what's in it, because that's what Lightning's really for, sending small amounts.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. The transaction fees, I would assume, would increase with higher adoption levels, but then I've read some arguments against it, so I don't know. And I don't know exactly what that argument against it is. But yeah, for the time being, I was sending small amounts, so I was sending like a few dollars worth of Satoshis in each transaction, and it was costing like 1 Satoshi. So, which is a fraction of a cent.
Yeah, I mean, right now you can't super chat me on YouTube under anything under $1. Not because you can't, but your processor or YouTube's processor doesn't think it's worth it, and YouTube has to pay a transaction fee. Plus, YouTube wants to take 30% of that dollar after or before that transaction fee. So now it's possible to send less than $1 and not have 30% of that taking. So I think any of the cost effects of that, transaction fees, or opening and closing of a channel would counterbalance the thought of losing 30%, or the majority of people who would otherwise tip you if they could tip 50 cents instead of $1. They can't, or they couldn't because they don't have a Visa card, because they don't have an ID and they don't have a bank account, and they can't tip you because the legacy system told them they're not welcome. But Kristen, I wonder what your thoughts are, if you have any, on like the institutional incorporation of Lightning. And I think Litecoin Foundation has acquired about 10% of a bank a couple months ago, and it kind of struck me into thinking about them opening a Lightning channel, or like what could possibly be the world's biggest Lightning channel, where if any exchanges wanted to use a Lightning channel to send massive amounts of funds, they need a network that has more than the funds they are willing to send to close and open. So I was wondering, what are your thoughts on like the potential of a Wells Fargo Lightning channel, and the positive or negatives that could have? Your audio cut out. Hello?
Well, and it's similar in a sense to the J. Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. There's just a little bit of a delay. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Good.
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit like the JP Morgan issue, which is, I think it will be good for crypto overall, because again, we need that infrastructure building that gives legitimacy to this whole thing. So all those buzzwords that everybody's hearing us talk about, that would give legitimacy to them. And I think then we do have the chance to move forward and have more adoption on the merchant side. So, and on the, not just merchants, but I mean, I guess the institutional merchant side, the large players.
Yep.
So I would think that would be a good thing. I would think that would be forward progress.
Yeah, I do too, and I don't think there's any way really around it. Decentralization is such a hard thing to truly get. You can only get so decentralized to the point to where, if we do want true decentralization, well, even with Lightning channels, there's central points of stranglehold on who has the most. You know, there's always going to be a wealth in distribution. You know, you'll have 20 or 40 or 30 or 100 people collude to make their own giant lightning channel that can compete with an institution's lightning channel, like, you know, Wells Fargo, but it's still at some point centralized to those 20 to 100 or 1,000 people that decided to open that channel and create it. So it's decentralization is such a hard thing to get to. But I wonder, like, what are the most important parts, and what are the parts that, you know, are frivolous and aren't really something that matters as much to the fact, more so to the opinion? Like, I guess with Dash, right? Like, everybody gives Dash a load of shit because the pre-mine and the master nodes and things like that. But, you know, that incentivized a means to decentralize that centralization, you know, bottleneck to the point to where Swarm.fund actually tokenized master nodes. So, like I was saying, 20 to 100 people could create a lightning channel to compete with, you know, Wells Fargo's lightning channel. We could all compete to, you know, chip in and own a master node together as well. So, you know, that whole, it's centralized, it's decentralized. I think we're just going to keep getting through these fourth walls of decentralization as we hit them, but we have to get through one at a time. I guess to kind of, you know, get your takes on that, where do you think like the first wall is? What's that first level of decentralization that's really important?
You're cutting out a little bit.
Sorry, it must be your audio. Hey, Miner, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, so the first level of decentralization, as in for the masses, I you know, I don't know. I think that a lot of people just won't care, and they're going to continue to use something that's centralized, and there's going to probably be a small group of us that do care for the time being, that will have the option to use other things. But I don't know. I just don't. I think it'll definitely change in future generations, but it's really difficult to change the minds of, let's just say, any non-technical person who doesn't care about decentralization, centralization, that's 40 years of age or over.
Shit, man. So my takeaway kind of was like, I feel like I'm now a digital doomsday prepper. That's what you're kind of saying there, man. Like, we're just going to be the digital doomsday preppers, and instead of having MREs in our fucking closet, we have hardware wallets of Bitcoin and shitcoins. I can dig it.
I mean, have you seen the new Samsung phone that's coming out?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm getting that.
So last night I was reading a little bit about it. And it said that the private key was going to be stored on a server operated by Samsung.
What?
And maybe in a key wallet that's actually on the chip.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to talk to Rivets right now. I don't know if you follow the project Rivets, but they found a way to basically turn your BIOS chip into its own 2FA for your physical and software health. So if your device has... Anyway, look into Rivets, and I got to see what the fuck Rivets thinks of this. That is insane, because imagine your private key is encrypted by Samsung's Knox, and Knox is basically open software to the NSA, so any cloud that they decide to sweep and unencrypt with their Knox key that they have been provided so politely by Samsung, then you're at just the same risk as you were having your Wells Fargo account. Wow.
So I think my question to Samsung would be, do you have the opportunity to shut that off and generate a seed phrase yourself, just like you would with any other hardware wallet? And then can you get that information and restore it to any other hardware wallet? Or...
Oh no, her connection's cutting out. I'm sorry. It's the NSA. They're coming after us. No, man, you're right though. You know, the first level, Ryan says the first level is Bitcoin, and I think you're right. I think he's right. I think Bitcoin needs to be the front man. Needs to be like there can be a band of alts. That's fine, but we got to give Bitcoin the respect it deserves. And you know, no matter how much you may love another project, always combat that that tribal mentality of our coin's better than Bitcoin shit. Because you know, if you're out there listening to fucking IOTA fanboys, you're on a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mute so much of that out. I seriously do. I mean, I hear people talk about it all the time, but I don't even try to comment on it anymore. It just gets ridiculous in the type of conversations that you end up in, the time that you waste trying to, this person thinks that they're 100% right and you believe it's totally opposite thing, and you're never going to convince them otherwise.
That's true, man. You know, for the noobs out there, they're just basically worried about being their own banks. They don't know, like, the first thing to do. And I remember the first time I sent $1 from one wallet to another, I fucking had a panic attack, and it was just $1. But I was looking at it like, you know, this could be $1 today, but if it was $1 in 2009, oh my God, I'd be rich today. Like, so, what are your kind of like basic steps for taking measures in wallet security? I got it in the title, and I wanted to make sure we kind of touched on a few of like the basics that like a lot of the beginners should know, or some of the maybe frequently asked questions that your friends may come to you with, or even an experience that you had that maybe you could help people avoid.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been thinking a ton about security lately, and because I've heard stories of other people getting SIM hacked, and then their exchange
Consensus
accounts.
last year, 300 people.
Yeah, it's nuts. So what I've did, just personally, I have changed all of my accounts to tied it to an email address that's never been used on my phone. It's not tied to my phone. My 2FA is on a phone that's not even online. And then I don't know if you've used Authy or used Google Authenticator or what you use.
I do. I actually think Authy's a pretty interesting concept. I wish it was around a lot sooner.
So Authy has an option that you can switch on and off that allows you to use it on multiple devices.
Oh, so Google Authenticator doesn't do that shit. That sucks.
Yeah. So I've got two phones, and I tried originally to get Google Authenticator synced up so everything was good on both phones, and I just couldn't get it done easily. I had read that there's a few steps that you can take to get it done, but it became so much of a pain in the ass, I totally gave up on it, and somebody had mentioned Authy to me, and I looked into that. So if you do that, then someone potentially could gain access to your Authy account via a SIM swap. If they had, this was a kind of a crazy scenario this guy was telling me, and I don't even know if it was 100% true, but he said he had that option and Authy switched on. He got SIM swapped. The hacker gained access to his email because it was tied to his phone. I just don't understand. I would think that
Mine was like that too, man.
Was it? So then wouldn't they also need your Authy passcode? So how did they get that? And that's...
I don't know exactly how that would have worked, but yeah, I used my Google voice over IP, my VoIP number for Google Hangouts or whatever.
Right.
I used that phone number as a 2FA phone number for my Google account, my email. And then I had the authenticator, but since they had access to my phone number, they could reset that 2FA. It's not full FA, it's 2FA. So if you can say, oh, I don't have access to my 2FA anymore, but I have access to my phone number, they'll send you a new text message. You'll get a new message, and then you can disable the 2FA from Google Authenticator or Authy, and then you can redo it, and then you can lock somebody out from there.
So you can disable the 2FA,
Well,
be
not
it
this, not
S-
you. You can't disable it, but you can reach out to the platform and say, "Hey, I don't have." I mean, dude, if you lost your 2FA, you don't lose your Coinbase account. You
right,
say, "Hey, Coinbase, I lost my 2FA." They say, "Do you have your access to your email?" Yes. Do you have access to your phone number? Yes. And then the 2FA is fucking meaningless. It actually doesn't mean shit all. Scary.
right.
Fucking security theater, dude, in a digital era, and it's fucking scary because we all sleep tightly at night thinking the Sloman shield on our fucking hardware wallet's going to keep us safe. It's not, you know, like these hardware wallets, like they update all the time, and if you don't have your private key in paper form, and for some reason you have a house fire or it's destroyed or whatever, and your hardware wallet's somewhere else safe and it updates, you lost your money. Or God forbid somebody steals your hardware wallet and kills you so you can't use your private key that you stored somewhere safely, and just waits for your hardware wallet to get exploit and steals your money. You know, so it's scary for wallet security in all sense, you know, to be your own bank, you know, like I don't know if I would if as a company want that responsibility. It's not just my own money. I'm my own bank. I'm actually my employees and my customers and my partners' bank. You know, it starts to get real sketchy with multi-sigs and like things like the parity wallet hack. Could you imagine if that happened in a traditional sense where JP Morgan and Wells Fargo and Chase were all hacked in a multi-signature wallet hack that had a backdoor, blah, blah, blah. Like, it would just be devastating. So we're just not ready for any of that. You know, I think it's going to be more for us, not so much as a institutional sense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there is definitely a lot to think about in terms of security. It's overwhelming to the general population. Hell, it's overwhelming to me because you're trying to think of every little thing that could happen, and then what you're going to do to try and prevent that to happen. And then every day it's just something new.
Yeah, yeah, it is, man. And you know, when it comes to basic wallet security, I guess it comes down to just learning about all the ways to get fucked instead of worrying about how not to that don't exist yet. You know, just
Right.
like, you know, learn about all the phishing attacks that are currently happening, all the wallets that have been exploited and have been hacked by third party, you know, security auditors, and, you know, things like, you know, Ledger or Treasure and KeepKey. I don't, one of them wasn't hacked, but the other ones have been. And even things like the BitFi wallet that I have right here, John McAfee was so kind to send me. It says it's unhackable, but nothing's unhackable because at the end of the day, you are hackable. I could hack you with a wrench to your own head or a gun to somebody else's. I'm gonna get in that fucking wallet. It's nothing's unhackable.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You can take steps to
Kristen, I see. Sorry, I see Kristen's here. Try to do just just the audio. So in the bottom left corner, hit stop video, but turn on your microphone, and you should have the bandwidth to be able to do the chat. But yeah, guys, you know, when it comes to wallet security, it's really all on you. So 100% don't do what Ian Bellina did and tell everybody how much fucking money you have, and you won't have to worry about all those things I was kind of scaring you with. But I wasn't trying to scare anybody. I'm just trying to be realist. You know, if you
Right.
keep money under your mattress and you're posting fucking pictures like Floyd motherfucking Mayweather with bundles of hundreds, like somebody's gonna kick in your front door to get under your mattress. So just don't be posting your fucking Blockfolio on Twitter, and you don't have to worry about all these other things. And I think a lot has to do with multi-sigs. I think there's going to be a lot of don't trust but verify / also trust multi-sig scenarios where you and your wife are going to have a multi-sig. So if anything were to happen, you know, it would require both of you, or even a third party as a accredited third party law firm with a smart contract that has some way to sign off after they know you've both consented as a third party or something. I don't know, but it'll all happen because as problems occur, solutions are incentivized to be created out of the the greed factor. People are fucking greedy, and people are gonna look at a problem and go, "Oh, I can make money solving that." Not because they want to be Nikola Tesla of the fucking digital era, but because they want to make more money. And that's why I think we're gonna have less problems with mining. We're gonna see a lot more cheaper electricity, faster electricity, solar, renewable, and all of this is marketed to miners who are turning that shit into fucking money. So the incentives, the problems beget incentives, and the incentive beget solutions. So the solutions are coming.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
We got her back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead, drop some Satoshis.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Aw, damn.
Oh, you can't hear us? I'm telling you guys, it's the NSA. Share this out, tag the NSA, and tell them to stop trolling me. The crypto API tax guys are making a killing from solving a simple problem. Absolutely correct. But then again, you have Litecoin incentivized to go to a privacy fork. Why? Because of that shit. So, problem, beget, incentive, beget, solution, motherfuckers. And Bitcoin ain't done yet. Bitcoin isn't done. They can keep doing all this fucking Chainalysis stuff, but Bitcoin isn't done. Anything that Monero has done or Litecoin can do with privacy, Bitcoin will incorporate that shit too. We'll have some weird fucking tumbler built into the blockchain that mixes transactions on a side chain before it gets transacted on the blockchain. So there is no fucking, the history is there, but it isn't in the right order because it was in the right order before, but before it was submitted to the blockchain on chain, it was scrambled. I don't know. It doesn't exist yet, but it will. All those things will, because you're right. The tax guys are making a killing, but they're gonna get killed because there's no way to stop this unless they want to become miners. Like, that's how I see it, right? Like the IRS is gonna have to become Bitcoin miners if they want taxes, because the transaction fee, TX tax, is all they're ever gonna get. That's it.
I can't comment on anything tax related this year because I am being audited.
Oh, wow. Maybe after that's over, I could have you back on to talk about that experience, because I just started sweating and my back got chills. And oh, that's intrusive shit,
I mean,
man.
I personally am not worried about a thing. I kept a very good records, and I did report everything that I needed to. So we'll see how that turns out. I just sent the IRS about 500 pages of supporting documentation for everything that I filed. So
you pay taxes to be interrogated, to do your own taxes,
what is happening?
to then have somebody else that you paid review the work that you
leave me alone.
It's insane.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised,
so you guys,
to be honest.
Kristen?
I did hear her.
So did I. It's like the ghost of Kristen just haunting the podcast. Hello. Should we get a Ouija board out? I feel like we should do a seance. I don't want an exorcism. We got to get her back on the show. So I think a seance would get that boat in motion.
There she is. Can she not hear us?
I don't think she can. Do you can you message her on the side and just let her know we can hear her, but I don't think she can hear us.
I wonder if she was talking to us then, or maybe we're just hearing whatever's going on over there.
That's funny. So yeah, exactly. So what are your thoughts on mining right now? Somebody wanted to grab one of those. He posted in the comments earlier. Wanted to get the Antminer S, I think. I want the S15. What kind of miner is that, and why would somebody want one? What does it mine? How? Why? What?
So that's a ASIC miner. I assume that's a Bitcoin ASIC miner. When I first looked into it, when I was looking into it in 2017 and just into mining in general, my first thought was that I was going to buy ASIC miners from Bitmain, and that's what I was going to use. And then lo and behold, I realized, oh, you can do this with GPUs. You can't mine Bitcoin with it, but you can mine other
Ew,
coins
gross.
and trade it for this. I don't think she realizes that we can still hear her.
All right, I muted her. Oh, wait. Okay, I muted her. But I actually have the power to turn her camera on at any moment, too. Weird.
So I have stayed away from ASICs just because I don't know if you've seen some of the news articles, the Antminer S9s, the companies, the mining companies in China, they're just like bulldozing them out by the truckloads because they're not worth anything anymore. It's not worth even the cheapest electricity to run them, I guess. To use them in your house, they're loud as fuck too. You don't even want to use them in your house.
I know. I mean, well, unless you're really cold. I mean, you might be able to put up with it.
Really cold, and I guess you're wearing earbuds all day long.
Well, we need to incentivize people to be miners, even if it's not not physically, but financially profitable, because we need to decentralize the mining power as well. We don't want mining farms to, be central points of failure or attack, right?
Like, oh, yeah, that sucks.
Right, exactly. Thanks, Kristen. Like, imagine if governments were to go to the power supply, the electric suppliers.
I really want to talk.
We can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Why can't she hear us?
Yeah, I guess she's just messaged me and said it's cutting in and out. She's only catching pieces of it.
Bummer.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem now, I think, is that, well, with an ASIC miner, you really have to take into consideration the current hash rate of the network that you are planning on mining, which the ASIC miners, like the Bitcoin ones, are all SHA-256 algorithm, and you can mine any SHA-256 coin with it. But the hash rate on the networks are like increasing at about the same rate on the bigger coins like that. So then you got to kind of figure out how long it's going to take you just to break even on the purchase of the hardware. And then if the hash rate doubles or triples before you've paid for the hardware, then you're out the difference between what you've made out of it and
yeah, but the freedom to be able to verify your own transactions, that's pretty powerful. I mean, somebody commented, how about or nodes, right? And yeah, I guess, but how about we start with the foundation? If, again, to kind of pick up where I left off, if the mining authorities are centralized and the governments can say to the companies that are producing the electricity, provide it to those companies that are Bitcoin miners, stop, then it doesn't matter how decentralized your nodes are, we need miners. And we need people that aren't afraid of the government saying no, or, we need to incentivize independent electrical consumption and production of Bitcoin mining, because this is really disruptive. And it starts with decentralizing the foundation up, like the mining, and that's, yes, nodes, and then, yes, lightning channels and all of that. It's every step is important, man. And is there any way for somebody to like really start mining today, though? Obviously not Bitcoin, but like what miner would make sense to purchase, and what currency would make sense to mine today to I guess to just make more fiat or make more Bitcoin as a means of profit?
So just about everything today is either it definitely depends on your electricity rate. Anybody mining in, say, California with GPUs is losing money every day, and it doesn't matter what you're mining. If you're lucky and you have maybe like 8 to 10 cent kilowatt hour electrical rate, then you might be breaking even. I mean, I just think the name of the game right now is you're either going to take a chance and spec mine something that you think is going to increase in value, and then when it does, you just you get out of it and you trade it for Bitcoin, or trade it, if you want to trade it on a daily basis for another coin, a non-mineable coin that you're interested in. You can do that.
I thought
There's
mining coins that you could like stake are interesting. You know, it's a lot of like traditional investors kind of look at that as, you know, kind of like a real estate analogy. Like you have the house, you have a tenant, you own the house, you get the rent. So like your master node or your staking coins are kind of like that house that you have, and you get the rewards every once in a while to make the house bigger, to get more rent. And it's a really interesting way to kind of look at making money hand over fist if you understand the principles of mining and what you're mining and what you're kind of doing. Are there any like negative sides to mining crypto though that you see for independent, you know, just everyday people?
I mean, if you're doing it in your house and you don't have the space for it, you don't have a, you know, a dedicated room that you can do it in, then it's, yeah, it's kind of a hassle. In the summertime when it's hot, your house is going to get hot. In the wintertime, it's nice, but I actually moved.
If you live in Canada, I guess you're going to be good all year in fucking
yeah.
Canada, man. So, what are your thoughts then on the bigger ones? Like you mentioned earlier, there's bulks of these miners just being shipped around and being basically melted for their metal because it's more valuable than it up and running. But aren't there other places where the power would be cheaper and would incentivize those mining facilities to migrate there? Or I'm just curious why they don't move to where there's cheaper power if that's the only reason they're getting rid of all this equipment.
Yeah, I mean, for large scale mining facilities, that's definitely probably what they should be doing. I mean, it would be a huge move if you are a large scale mining facility to just pick up and go somewhere else. But
gold miners do it all the time. I watch it on Netflix. It's a fucking crazy process getting a new area prepped for mining gold just to find that they dug in the wrong place by 1,000 yards and they got to move again.
Yeah. So as far as like the let's just say the Bitcoin ASIC miners that were released 1 year ago or 14 months ago or whatever, the hash rate on the network has increased so much that I don't know that you can get cheap enough electricity to still profitably use them.
I think I kind of, when I first got in, I was reading in early 2016, a lot of mining facilities were mining in the negatives for months, almost a whole year, until 2017 kind of gave them something to work with. But then even in 2017, the difficulty adjustment, and then they were mining in the negatives for a few months again, and then the bull run occurred and all the miners were excited. I don't know if we're going to see the same cycle or if it's just too much of an emotional roller coaster for the mining vets. But I see a lot of attention coming from the traditional, institutional, and legacy side of the world that the mining is starting to appeal to, because they have these facilities, they have these contracts with, electrical providers, and they know that they have excess resources to incorporate this in like the basement level 4 that they use for storing toilet paper. So I think that we may see a lot more companies use mining as a hedge to make profit as a business in general. Like, it may have nothing to fucking do with crypto, but that giant skyscraper in New York City in the basement has a mining facility. Oh, and that one over there, they do too. Why? Because they just have a shit ton of power that they don't really use, but they pay for anyway. 8 hours a day they close or something because everyone's at home sleeping, and they're mining now. So I think that might be like kind of the route I see it going, from like those farms and it being kind of like a niche click business model to it actually being more of a way for businesses to adopt to just make more money as a business. Like, oh yeah, we mine Bitcoin. That's just one of the things we do. We also do Johnson & Johnson, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to think about. I mean, a lot of them right now are, I'd say the large scale ones are probably selling off some of their crypto just to pay for the electricity, because their electric bill is in the thousands of dollars every month. for a home miner with 30 GPUs, if you can afford $300-400 a month in electricity and not sell your coins, it's probably the best bet right now, especially if you're just mining something, any like a bigger coin like Ethereum. You can still GPU mine, because I mean, every one that you sell, you're just, I mean, you're taking a risk that it's never going to increase in the future. But if you don't believe in it, then what the fuck are you doing here anyway, right?
Well, dude, the Bitcoin you mine is worth more than the Bitcoin any exchange is willing to sell me. Doesn't matter. It's a virgin coin. It's
Right,
you know,
yeah.
anti-money laundering proof. They're kind of illegal to have a virgin Bitcoin on a paper wallet or a hardware wallet and give it to somebody because it never really transacted. There's no history. And a lot of people don't understand that that adds a lot of value to the Bitcoin that miners have over the Bitcoin that exchanges have. And they don't, miners, the funny thing about Bitcoin is Bitcoin's worth what you're willing to sell it for and what somebody's willing to pay for it. Nobody gets to say what a Bitcoin's worth. It's worth what it's worth in the moment it's worth it. And I think that the power that miners have over the market is yet to be understood, where a miner isn't going to let go of a Bitcoin that they have mined for less than what it's costing them to fucking get it out of that mine, like the ground. Like, why would I sell you a pound of gold for less than what it cost me to get it out of the ground, even though the market's telling me it's not worth this much? I don't fucking care what the market said it's worth. I put the proof of work in. I can show you the fucking receipts, the audit behind how much the electricity, the software, the manpower. Like, this Bitcoin is worth well over $4,000 fucking dollars, and they're not going to let it go unless they sell for what they want. And that's where a lot of the OTC trades are coming in, and we're not seeing a lot of the movement on the markets, but that'll eventually start to reflect and balance out.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to be interesting to watch. There are a couple of large-scale GPU farms in the United States that I know of that I haven't really kept up with for the past few months. I know one was turning off some of their GPU miners just because they couldn't afford the electricity. They couldn't keep fronting that much money, and they already have the capital investment.
Is there another use case for these machines, man? I'm like sitting here wondering if, like, besides mining cryptocurrencies, could these companies use these GPUs to render graphics for fucking like Hollywood 5K Ultra VR videos or something? Like, you know, I feel like it's just such a waste of resource then if it's not worth using to mine Bitcoin. There has to be a use case for these machines.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't, there are so many of them out there. I mean, you can only sell so many graphics cards to gamers, right?
Yeah, gamers were really pissed at the whole mining boom. There was a huge
I think they're laughing at us now.
Maybe. I mean, they're definitely happily buying their graphics cards back at a price that was a lot cheaper at the time than it was originally sold. So yeah, they're not mad, and it's not like their gaming experiences have gone down as much as our crypto holdings. But
Yeah, right.
I think that it's interesting when you say things like that, because I believe Nvidia and one of the other companies have partnered with gamers to use their excess processing power to mine Monero and give them like rewards. I think it might have been Twitch and Nvidia that has this for gamers who are streamers. They're like, hey, your computer's really strong. Will you contribute to our mining pool? If you do, we'll give you a little tip back. So, you know, that's like another thing that I've kind of seen happen where they got into it just a little bit, you know, the gaming community, and I'm waiting for them to realize that Ninja collectible on the Engine blockchain is going to be like probably one of the most valuable shitcoin tokens ever. You know, it really is, just because of the nostalgic, you know, value and memorabilia aspect. And it's not like owning, you know, like a sticker I could peel. I know that there was only 100 of these, unlike, you know, only 100 of these made.
Okay.
It's
1, 2, there's 98 more, right?
Yeah, sure. If you only can count to 100. There's only 100 of these shirts available if you can only count to 100. That's kind of what I think Pomp meant when he scammed me into buying this. But I still love the shirt.
I know, me too. I mean,
I'm longing this shirt. I might short Pomp, but I will long this shirt.
I still like the guy. I still love him.
I'm just teasing.
He's he is very inspirational to a lot of people, and I definitely appreciate that.
Dude, the way he
I
carries
just,
himself on mainstream interviews, bro, like a fucking boss, dude. He
oh
doesn't
yeah,
sell
yeah,
out his character or identity. It's him, man. I just wish he would show up in pajamas and a t-shirt and a fucking beanie and do it. Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, that's what he's just a dude, man. I want people to know, like, just you don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist or like Jimmy Song blockchain fucking master to get into this industry. This is for everybody. Bitcoin is I posted this tweet out earlier. I was like, you know, if Bruce Lee was alive today, he would be the best Bitcoin marketer right now because Bitcoin is like water. You know what I mean? You could put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. Teapot. Bitcoin is the same, man. You don't have to say, oh well, Bitcoin is this because you can invest in it, you can make money, or Bitcoin is like this because you can mine it and make money. Bitcoin isn't just that one aspect. People have a million different needs for what this tool can provide, and it does seamlessly flow ubiquitously into everybody's life if you just let it, instead of trying to force a stream of blockchain is this, you got to mine Bitcoin, or you got to trade it, or you got to stake it. No, how about you just use Bitcoin to get 10% off when you buy Domino's on Bitrefill? I don't know. You know, like things that people can kind of relate to. So I guess to kind of wrap things up, I didn't realize we were going on over an hour and a half. I'm so sorry, bro. I was actually just waiting for Kristen to be able to pop back in and give herself a little shout out, but I guess we could let everybody know where to find her and kind of wrap things up on letting everybody know a little bit more about like yourself and where they could find you on the interwebs, and maybe your thoughts on the space, and yeah, kind of wrap things up.
Yeah, so definitely think that we are going to continue this bear market until at least maybe the end of the second quarter of the year, and maybe even till towards the end of the year. A lot of people yesterday were pretty excited about the price movement, and then they woke up this morning and thought, oh fuck.
Every YouTuber, Bitcoin over 4,000 to the moon.
I mean, I just love watching it on Twitter. I just love watching it on Twitter. It's amazing. But I don't know. I guess I used the entire year last year as just a way to continue learning as much as I possibly could. And that doesn't work for everybody. The people who are only in it for the quick money are not going to stick around like that. But I mean, I appreciated the bear market last year, and I'll continue to appreciate it as we move forward with it, and hopefully move out of it at some point. But I'm not at all going to get impatient about it. You know, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, Bitcoin's not by any means a get-rich-quick scheme or anything in that effect, and this is definitely, if that is something that people want to do, is just make more money, the best thing you can do is buy some Bitcoin and do nothing. Just
right.
Then do nothing. Just wait and hold it, and it will increase in value over time, in the sense that the user adoption will increase, the supply will dwindle. There's less in the circulating supply, with more demand increasing for it. So it'll balance out, and we're seeing now, like, nobody's talking about any shitcoin ETF. We have everybody in the banking world talking about a Bitcoin ETF. They're so hungry to get into this right now, and they have every incentive to suppress the price for as long as possible until they can. And they have more money than us, so that means they can afford to lose more money than us by buying it and selling it for less than they bought it. Because in the long term, they're betting on the futures contracts of it going down anyway. So they're making that money they lose on the trades back on the bet they made happen. It's fucked, but it is what's happening, man. So where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on Twitter at GOTMiner. That's the only social media I use anymore. I deleted my Facebook account in September 2027 or 2018.
Hop up on Steam it, bro, because Twitter could hit the ban hammer on us crypto people any day of the week they want, just like they did to the cannabis, and they're starting to do to like some of the adult entertainers. Twitter can decide to change what they want their platform to be associated with.
Right. Yeah, definitely agree with that.
So guys, check out GotMiner at GotMiner on Twitter. I hope you guys enjoyed the chat. I know we went a little long, but this was actually a really fun conversation, man. I appreciate you taking the time of your day to come on. And Kristen, where can people find her? Her Twitter handle is at Kristen_COLWELL. All right, man. All right, we're signing off, bros. Have a day.
All right, see you, man.